Okay, so today we are talking about professional standards and ethics. And I wrote a blog post to talk about this professional learning and ethical practice.
Okay. Did the candidate's behavior reflect the profession's code of ethics and an understanding of educational laws? Now, you haven't taken a class on educational laws yet, right? Education laws yet. But, I mean, there are certain things that hopefully are normal behavior and common sense. But, for example, you are always a professional in front of the kids. You are the teacher. They are the student.
Right.
When you talk to another teacher about something, you do it privately. You don't put it in a place where another parent might hear.
Right, or another student.
Or another student. And let's see what else. You do. And when you seek out parents who need, who you need to talk to.
Right.
You don't just let something slide.
Right,
So
usually I'll contact them through a dojo that I might send to them if there's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And you sometimes have actual meetings, right? You request a meeting. Okay. Culturally relevant learning experiences. You do. You know that a majority of your kids are Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that you look up, for example, if you're on YouTube or any other kinds of things, are often, not always though, right? They're not always kind of Hispanic, show the Hispanic culture and things like that. And do you have parents who only speak Spanish or
Yes.
primarily?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anyone translating during conferences?
Yes.
Yes. So, and so that was, that is something important too. So everyone can hear what they need to hear. And the kids' learning experiences, like you had said, you use foods that they are familiar with, so
Right.
so you don't get hung up on what does that mean and what is that and things like that. Did the candidate take responsibility for student learning and use analysis and reflection to improve student learning? You do. You check their homework, you check their classwork. You do create pre-tests to see where they're at beforehand, post-tests. You group them, right, to according to need
Mm-hmm.
at that time, and these groups are not static, right? I mean, they do change,
Right,
even
right.
from unit to unit.
Right.
Even though you have some kids who are always on the higher, always on the lower, but there's always
But
some
sometimes
that
it changes.
it changes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even my higher ones change a little bit from
Mhm.
being all the way at the top to maybe being still at the top, but maybe down at the bottom of
Mhm.
the top.
And are they aware of that? Do you know?
Well, I do announce when they pass a math test, like
Mhm.
with 100%,
Uh-huh.
who gets the highest grade.
Uh-huh.
And
But that's really all you kind of announce, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you check all those things fairly often to see what needs changing, right? Let's see. Use data to assess student learning and make necessary adjustments. I know you look at their homework, their classwork, and I'm sure you watch them do their classwork, so you can
Right.
see,
That that helps a lot to walk
Mhm.
around and see
right?
if
so
they're not following instructions or they're not understanding. So that helps a lot to
Right. And I know
get them on track.
we got an opportunity to look at their ITBS scores.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a general idea of the class as a whole and individual. Have you used it to create groups at all yet?
I did
or-
because we tested with that at the beginning of the year, so I used that to break them up into reading groups and
Mhm.
also to initially decide who would go to see the resource teacher.
Uh-huh.
And that's changed since a little bit based on STAR testing, which we do
And
more
how
on a
often?
monthly basis.
You do it on a monthly basis, okay.
Yes.
And dibbles, you've dibbled all your kids at the beginning,
Right,
and you will halfway through again. And that I think also kind of determined who was sent to the resource.
right. I looked at all three scores. I looked at
Mhm.
Dibbles and Iowa and STAR all together to see if there were any discrepancies. And there were a few that the scores were not, they were off a little
Mhm.
bit, but a lot of times they were like almost right on,
Mhm.
equally across.
Right. Participate in professional development and other professional growth experiences. Our diocesan in-service, you
Mhm.
attended that. Last one was on mindset, and I know you have talked to the kids about mindset, and you've actually used the terminology and explained to them what that is.
Right,
And any professional development that our principal has said that we need to do, you've attended that. I know that sometimes the principal will ask us, what do you want to have PD on? And you're there. You've done a math one in the past. You've talked about AR, things like that. And you also sometimes meet with the resource person, right? Just kind
Right.
of catch up on how things are going,
right.
right? All right, I hope that takes care of that one. So, just you're constantly just thinking about your teaching and what works, what doesn't work, and
Right,
you actually have like notes and things like that.
right.
Right. And sometimes though, you gotta make sure you don't throw out something that didn't work this year, because it might work with another class.
Oh, okay. I
You
never
know,
thought of
that kind of
yeah.
thing. So, especially as the more years you are in the same group or the same level, you can say, okay, this works sometimes, this works sometimes, and just have all of those choices that you can just pull from. Okay.
Okay. You must have favorite lessons that you have taught throughout, or are you changing
I do,
constantly?
but I tweak them according to not only the student need, but sometimes for me too. So
Mhm.
I don't get bored
Oh,
with
right,
it, because
yes.
if I get bored with it, then it won't be taught as effectively sometimes.
Right,
Or I'll start shortcutting things and
Mm.
depriving them of certain experiences that they need.
that's
So,
true.
so even though I taught the same grade level many years, I know my previous principal said, but it's always, I always keep it fresh, because I always,
Oh, that's good.
modify
to do.
it and
Mhm.
things like that. And the number one reason to modify it is the kids,
Mhm.
of course. And you learn new things,
Mhm.
and, new books become available.
New technology.
Technology.
Yeah.
So you always do have to be open to that. But if you can keep kind of a record of all your different ways to approach something,
Mhm.
you always have something you can pull from
Mm.
that will
Okay.
work.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.